So this will be an hour class of stretch flow. We will mindfully move our body and use our breath to help stay present. So we are going to start on our mat. And I'm assuming, Maureen, you can hear me, right?
Oh yeah, perfect.
Okay, I'm going to assume all the others can hear me, even though I can't see a wave or anything. We are going to start on your mat, on your back. And bend your knees. Bring your feet out wide. And let your knees fall together in the midline. If you have a different variation for your legs, you may feel free to adopt that variation at any point here. And begin to deepen your breath and take 3 or 4 cleansing breaths. So inhaling deeply through the nose and pausing for a moment at the top, and then sighing it out, exhaling heavily all the way to the bottom. And when you do so, let go of tension. Repeat that 2 or 3 more times on your own breath, releasing the tension through your exhale and letting gravity sort of pull you into the earth. And after your second or third nice heavy cleansing breath, seal your lips and begin to just become more aware of your breath. Each inhale, take in a little bit more air. And each exhale, see if you can discover new depths to your lungs. And as you deepen your breath, start to feel just the small movements that happen in your body as you breathe. So on your inhale, feeling your rib cage expand in all directions, maybe pushing into your mat slightly as you fill up all the way. And then on your exhale, feeling the constricting of your ribs, maybe a heaviness to your hips, and perhaps at the very bottom, a toning of the low belly. Each breath that we take creates just small micro movements in the body. Just really start to focus in on those micro movements. Take this time to drop in. Drop into your body. Be present. And use your breath to help anchor your mind to your body and be in this moment. Flutter open your eyes and extend your left leg long. Bring your right knee and pull it into your chest. Keep your low belly toned just a little bit so there's no overarching in the low back. And then begin to bring your knee towards your rib cage. So slightly more outside of your torso. Just keeping a little toning in the low belly, feeling the stretch in the hips. Now, releasing that knee away from the body a little bit. Take your right hand on your right knee and begin to create hip circles in one direction. So the knee is almost making a circle in the air, but what that's doing is creating this nice circle motion in the hip. And then slowly begin to create maybe just a little bit bigger of a circle. Take your left hand and put it on your left hip. That's just a reminder to keep that left hip anchored. And then switch the directions. And again, start small and then progressively get a little bit bigger with those circles. Keeping the low belly toned, left hip anchored, shoulders are lowering to the mat. And then come to stillness. Bend the left leg so that the left foot is on the ground. Take that right leg and cross it over. Open up the arms. Pick up the hips and let the left hip push more towards the center of the mat and coming into a supine twist. So legs are falling to the left. And since this is in the beginning of our practice, you might like to have a block or something supporting underneath your knees as they fall to the ground so that you can feel grounded and be able to let go a little bit. You can take your left hand and kind of pull down on your knees just a little bit and keep your right shoulder anchored to the ground, and then maybe even look over your right shoulder. Keep your breath full and keep that breath as a through line of mind and body. Making sure to listen to your body as we move through your practice. Making sure to modify or use different variations when appropriate. Bring those knees up through center. Uncross the legs. And now extending the right leg out long and pulling the left knee in towards the chest. Remembering we're going to keep the low belly pulled in just a little bit and the shoulders relaxed. Now bring that knee a little bit more to the side so that the knee is starting to come down towards the rib cage on the left. Nice full breaths. And then release the knee a little bit. Put left hand on top of left knee, right hand on right hip, and begin circles. Remember, starting slow and range of motion is nice and small. And then slowly finding that full range of motion for you. Keeping that right hip anchored so the low belly has to be pulled in a bit. And just continuing those circles of the hip. And then pause, change directions, and remember, start small and then slowly work towards larger circles. And then pausing in the middle. Bending your right leg now, crossing the left leg over the right leg. This time picking up the hips and bringing the right hip more towards the center of your mat, and then letting your knees fall to the right. Open up the arms to a T. If you have an obstruction on one side, you can cactus your arm. And then left shoulder is anchored to the ground. Right hand might come to the knee on the right hand side. And again, perhaps a block under your knees might help you feel grounded here so that you can let go of it. And then gaze over the right shoulder and continue with your full breath. And bring your knees up through center. Plant your feet. And this will be hard to see, but they're called pelvic tilts. So if you know what they are, you can go for it. On a pelvic tilt, you're going to exhale and you're going to flatten your low back to the ground. So you're going to feel it racing through the core. And your tailbone's going to lift a little bit. However, your hips will stay on the ground. Your inhale will be a release of that bracing. So exhale, lower the low back to the ground, lift the tailbone and brace the core. Inhale, release. Exhale, brace. Inhale, release. Keep going. Use your breath. Make sure your inhales are nice and long and slow, as well as your exhales. Let's do 2 more. Finding the maximum amount of bracing that you can find in your core. Last one. Okay. Scoot your heels in close towards your sit bones. Allow your arms to stretch down towards your heels. Now use that same pelvic tilt as the beginning of a bridge, pushing your hips all the way up. Pausing here at the top. Squeeze the glutes. Squeeze the knees together. See if you can get your hips a little higher. And then slowly lower 1 vertebrae at a time all the way to the tailbone. Now you can stick with just bridge, or you can make it more of a dynamic bridge with your arms. Inhale, up, overhead, lift the hips. Pause for a moment here, and then exhale, hips lower, arms come back down by your sides. Inhale, lift, reach. Pausing at the top, squeezing those glutes. Exhale, lowering the spine and hips and arms. 2 more. Use your own breath. One more. Pausing here with your hands next to your sides. Bring your knees over your hips and your shins parallel to the floor. Open up your arms just a little bit, like a 45 degree, and then let your shoulders release tension. On your exhale, I want you to use that bracing in your core and drop 1 foot towards the ground. Inhale, brings it back up to center. Exhale, switch legs. Inhale, back up. Exhale, switch legs. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. 1 more, each side. When you've completed your second side, lower your feet to the ground, Supta Baddha Konasana. So you're going to bring the soles of your feet together. Let your knees fall out wide. Let your shoulders release of any tension. Again, if you have blocks, they might come in handy underneath the thighs, just again to allow your legs to ground and that opportunity to release tension. We're going to be here for just a moment. I want you to bring 1 hand to the belly and 1 hand to the chest. I want you to breathe, full breaths. And I want you to take this opportunity to create an intention for your practice today. Why are you on the mat today? And then take a couple of nice full breaths to seal that in. Releasing the hands to the side and bringing them just by the sides of the knees to close your legs, kind of like you would a book. And then rolling to one side just for a brief moment. And then coming up to a seated position, again, for just a moment as a transition, and coming into all fours. So if you would like to put more cushioning under your knees, now is a good time to do that. And I want you just to make sure that you've got your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. And then moving through some cat-cow. So inhale fully. Exhale, round the spine, tuck the tail and chin. Inhale, sag the belly. lift the chin, push the tail back. Exhale, round like a cat. Inhale, sag your belly like a cow. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. One more of each. And then pausing on a neutral spine. Lift the right leg long. Let's scoot up just a little bit so you can see my foot. Okay. I want your hips to be square to the ground underneath you. Pull your belly in so you're supporting that lifted leg. Extend the heel back behind you like you're trying to reach the wall or whatever it is that's behind you. Flex your back toe. And then pull your shoulders down your back. Let your neck be long here. And breathe. Release the right leg. Lift the left leg. So do all of those things. Square the hips, pull the belly in, reach through the heel, flex the foot, and then pull the shoulders down the back and create a nice long spine. And breathe. Stay in alignment in both body and mind. And release the left leg down. Right leg lifts. You can stay here, or you can add the arm. So the arm reaches up, bicep comes up towards the ear. But again, shoulders down the back, belly in, reach through the heel, long spine. And release. Switch sides. Create those nice long breaths. Release. One more each side. Meeting here in tabletop. Just take again a moment to align hands under shoulders, knees under hips. All right, you're gonna lift your right leg kind of like a donkey kick, right? So see how my leg is still bent? I'm reaching up with my heel. Now bring the knee around. I'm opening up my hips a little bit and then bringing knees together, but I'm not touching down with my knee. Kick it back up. This is sort of a donkey kick. Swing it around and lower it. Kick it up. Open the hips, swing it around, bring it together. Let's do one more. Kick it up, open it, bring it back down. Good. Let's do the other side. So left leg now, kicks up, open it up, and then lower it down. Kick it up, open the hip, swing the knee around and down. One more. Good. So now we're going to go to the right, but we're going to do that same thing, opposite direction. So we're going to open up the knee, so we're on the right knee, open up the hip, swing it back, square the hip, find that donkey kick position, then lower. Let's try it again. Open up the hip, swing it back so the knee is now behind you. Find that donkey kick position, bring it down. You got one more chance to try it out. Opening it up, open the hips, swing the knee back, square the hips, bring it down. Okay, let's try the left leg. So you're gonna open it up, open up the hips, swing the knee back so it's pointed behind you, square the hips, and then bring the knee down. Open it up, swing the knee back, square the hips, and bring it down. You've got one more. Open it up, swing the knee back, and square up the hips, and bring it down. Good. Okay. And then just one more time, making sure you've got good alignment in your tabletop position. Inhale, right arm up, look up. Exhale, thread the needle, follow with your eyes. Inhale, look up, reach up. Exhale, thread the needle, follow with the eyes. We've got one more. Inhale up. This time on your exhale, thread the needle and allow the arm, the shoulder, and the temple to come down onto the mat. That left arm can reach out long here, or it can even reach back behind you into a half bind. So whatever version feels like the right place for your body in this moment, feel free to try different placements of that left arm. And then think about that right hip pushing to the right as your right arm reaches to the left. So kind of a cross-body stretch. If your left hand has left the mat, bring it back to the mat next to your face. And inhale, look up, reach up. Exhale, hand to the mat. Okay, left hand. Inhale up. Exhale, thread the needle, follow with the eye. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, thread the needle. We've got one more. Inhale, reach up, look up. This time on your exhale, thread the needle, lower the arm, shoulder, temple, and then again, experiment with what you do with that right arm, whether it reaches up onto the mat overhead, maybe half bind, and allow this side to be different. Maybe something different, some different variation feels better on this side. Allow that to be the case. And then as your left arm reaches to the right, try to get your left hip to reach to the left. And then if your right hand has left the mat, bring it back to the mat, plant by your face, and inhale up, look up, and exhale down. Okay, this time I'm going to have you take your hands further in front of your shoulders. Okay, your knees will still stay pretty much under your hips. Okay, on your exhale, let your hips sink back to your heels, kind of like a child's pose here. And then inhale, let your hips push forward as you come into kind of a cobra. And exhale here. Inhale, extend into a little bit of a back bend. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, back bend. Squeeze the glutes a little bit in your back bend. We're going to do two more here, keeping it dynamic. Child's pose one more time. Your little back bend one more time. And then push back into child's pose. Okay. So in your child's pose, make a choice about how wide your knees are. The wider the knee, the more of the hip it will stretch. The narrower the knee, the more of the mid-back. Okay? And then decide what you want to do with your hands. Hands can reach out in front. They can reach back to your heels. They can even come into a namaste position and come to the back of the neck. I want your forehead to lightly rest on the mat. We're going to have just a few breaths here, just a moment of stillness. That ability to quiet the body, quiet the mind, and reconnect to your breath and to your intention for your practice today. I want you to lift your hands and arms so that you have a tent. So all 10 fingertips are on the ground, but your palm is not. And lift your head slightly. Walk your hands to the right. Lift your chest and belly so that it lands more onto your right thigh. And then take your left hand and overlap it onto your right, finding a side stretch here. Let your head be heavy. I'm keeping mine lifted so you can hear my voice. But let your head be heavy and choose to have your gazing point either under the left armpit or under the right armpit. So that's gonna make your torso twist in different directions. Try them both out. See which one serves your presence right here in this moment better. And take a couple breaths in that side stretch. And then come to those tented fingers again. Walk your hands through center. Lift your torso again, but this time land it on your left thigh. And walk those hands all the way over to the left. Right hand overlaps the left as you let your head sink. And choose a gazing point. Try them both, gazing under the right shoulder or the left. And then taking a couple of nice deep breaths as you work towards anchoring your right sit bone. Come back up through center, and then come up all the way to a seated position. Okay, this is a toe stretch. It can be super intense, so if this is the first time you've ever done it, you're gonna wanna take it very slow. If you ultimately just need to not do it, that's okay too. What I would like you to do is just sit and practice that meditative quality of your breath with your body and mind. Okay, so it starts from a kneeling position, and you can kind of lean forward and tuck the toes underneath. Can you guys see my toes, hopefully? And then you want all 10 toes. That pinky toe generally needs a little convincing to kind of find the mat. So get the pinky toe to really come to the mat. And then begin to let and your feet should be together. I should have prompted that. Start to sit up on your heels, stretching your toes. Now, this is super intense, especially if this is the first time you've done it. So feel like you can do it for a couple breaths, awesome. If you're like, this isn't so bad, we're gonna be here for just a few more breaths. See if you can kind of bear it out. Use your breath to be in your body. 2 more breaths. Good job. So you'll come forward onto your hands, let your toes untuck, and just bounce out your feet a little bit, hitting the tops of your feet. All right. Coming into a seated position. So I'm going to face the camera, and I'd like you to be sitting on something. Okay, so I've got a folded up towel. I'm going to sit on it, and then I'm going to come right to the edge of that towel, so that my sit bones are almost rocking off of it. What you do with your legs is really up to you. I'm going to form a cross-legged, but you can feel free to have 1 leg out, 2 legs out, whatever works for you. So if you're in the right positioning with a neutral hip, you'll feel the ability to really ground through your bottom half and find lightness and buoyancy through your upper half. It all of a sudden feels a little bit easier just to sit here on the floor, right, with good posture. Let your hands rest lightly on your knees. And just take a moment to close your eyes and be in this position, right? We've been on all fours, we've been on our back, and now we're coming into a seated position. Gravity is acting on us differently. We might feel a certain way about sitting on the ground. Try to detach yourself from that and just be present. Let her open your eyes. Inhale your arms up, look up, watch your hands connect. Exhale down through heart center. Again, inhale. Exhale. 3 more, using your own breath. After your third one, you'll meet with your hands in heart center. Left hand drops to the mat right next to your hip. Inhale the right arm up. And then on your exhale, reaching over your body to the left. Now that left hand can kind of inch out a little bit. It can bend in the elbow. What I want you to think about is keeping your chest rotated a little bit more up to the ceiling. Keep your belly in as you reach to the left. Come back up to center, but leave your right hand overhead. Bring your left hand and push it, put it behind you on the mat, fingertips rotated back so that that left shoulder is opened up. Inhale, reach up, lift up. Exhale, bring your right hand to the outside of your left knee into a twist. I want you to prioritize a long spine. So try not to let any rounding happen. Really try to twist from the belly button. So that belly button is what's driving this motion here. Shoulders down the back. Feel both sit bones anchored underneath you. And maybe look over the left shoulder. Slowly unwind. And then drop the right hand to the mat right next to your right hip. Inhale the left arm up. And then exhale as you lean to the right over your head. And again, that right hand might inch out away from you a little bit, bending in that elbow. But again, try not to round to the ground. Keep that chest open to the sky and the belly pulled in. And then make sure those shoulders aren't creeping up to the ears. Pull them down your back. Create that nice long cervical spine. And then try to keep both sit bones anchored to the ground. Coming back up to center, take your right hand, bring it behind your hip and your fingertips pointed away from you. Inhale, look up, fill up. Exhale, rotate to the right, bringing your left hand to the outside of the right knee. Coming into a twist. Again, twisting from the belly. Keeping your spine long. Pulling your shoulder blades down the back. And perhaps gazing over the right shoulder. Slowly releasing out of that. Bring your hands to heart center. Okay, we're going to do our reverse sun salutations. So inhale up through center. And then exhale, sweep your hands down and back to heart center. Inhale. Exhale. Again, inhale. Exhale, one more time. Inhale. Exhale. And we're going to do eagle arms. So right arm is going to come underneath the left arm. Perhaps this is where you stay and you kind of sandwich your forearms together. Maybe you can get the full wrap of the hands palm on palm. That really doesn't matter. I want you really just to kind of focus on how it feels in your body and pick the variation that makes most sense for you. Okay, now I want you to pull that belly in, make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. And then think about pulling the shoulder or the arm bone into the shoulder and then lifting the forearms so that you're gazing right through those forearms. So this requires your back muscles actually to kind of find a little bit of engagement so that you're not fully rounding into this position, that you're actually staying quite upright in this position. So those right between the shoulder blades, you want to kind of squeeze those muscles just a little bit to keep the integrity of that long spine. One more breath here. And then release out of that. And just some cat-cows in between, some seated cat-cows. Using your breath, rounding and extending your spine. Okay, right hand drops to the hip, the right hip. That's one option. Another option is that you take that arm and you put it back behind you, and so your forearm is kind of in the small of your back. So that's option 2. Option 3 is that you actually get both hands involved and then sweep your other arm back and kind of grab opposite elbows, okay? So whichever version is right for you, it feels okay on that shoulder and throughout the chest, okay? Inhale, and then exhale, left knee, ear to left shoulder. Inhale to center. Exhale, ear to shoulder. Inhale, center. Exhale, pause here now with your ear towards your shoulder. And then begin to round your chin towards your chest. Don't go all the way through center, just round it back up now. Now think of your chin with your ear still dropped, rounding up, maybe gazing up a little bit. So you'll find that going into your jaw a little bit more. And then rounding down. I'm going to give you a couple of breaths here to find a stretch that feels good. Wherever that chin might be, maybe you like the movement, but just find the stretch throughout the neck and jaw that feels good, feels like you need it, and then just pause. And then letting that head come back up to center. And we're going to switch sides. So even if you had both your hands behind you, you would still take your left hand now and do that one first, and then let your right one join. So whatever you did on the right, try it on the left, but again, allow it to be different on the left, right? We often feel very differently from one side to the other. So same thing here. Now our left hand or forearm is down. Inhale, sit tall. Exhale, right ear to shoulder. Inhale, sit tall. Exhale, right ear to shoulder. Inhale up. Exhale, tilt. Pause here. And then again, take your chin and round it down towards the shoulder. And then take that chin and round it up towards the ceiling, and maybe slightly push it back so that you kind of get it into the jaw. And then again, finding where the stretch is for you, or maybe you like the movement, and just taking a little bit of time to feel that stretch. And then bringing that head back up to center, releasing the arms, and just moving through just a couple of cat-cows. They can even be more like bear posy, where you kind of rotate the shoulders a little bit. No one's looking. No one can see you. Okay, coming to stillness. All right, eagle arms again, but this time with the left arm underneath. So left arm will wrap underneath, and then finding that variation that feels doable for you in this position. And then sitting nice and tall, pulling the belly in a little bit, and then pull your arm bones into the shoulders. And what that really actually does is require the muscles between the shoulder blades to pull together a bit, and then lifting the forearms so that your gaze is right between your forearms. So try to feel that, this little bit of engagement in the back, and then perhaps the stretch right behind the shoulders that that produces. And then releasing nice and slowly out of that, taking a couple of cat-cows, whatever might feel good here. Just moving the body organically. And then pausing. All right, we're going to extend both legs long out in front of you. You stay seated. I'm just going to change directions. Both legs are out long. Make sure that you're right on the edge of the towel or cushion. And then sit tall. We're just going to come into a forward fold, but I want you to set it up first. Pull your kneecaps up the leg. So find some engagement in the legs. And then take those toes and try to point them up towards the ceiling. Hold the belly in just a little bit. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And then exhale, bring them down towards your shins or the mat beside you. And I want you to focus here on a long spine. So resist the urge quite yet to do any rounding. So this might pull you out of your forward fold just a bit. Each inhale, long spine. Each exhale, maybe you get a little bit more of that forward fold. Let those shoulders pull down the back. And when you keep a long spine, what's happening is it's forcing your hips to rock forward, pulling on your hamstring. So you should feel the sensation here in your hamstring. One more inhale, long spine. And then this time on your exhale, let yourself round. Let your head be heavy. Keep the engagement of the legs, but let the shoulders go. And inhale, slowly come up to seated. Bend the right leg. Okay, and then take the right foot up and over the left leg. Okay, so you've got this sort of cross-legged thing going on. Okay, this is going to be a twist, and I'm going to show you the sort of most restorative version of this twist, and then I'll show you a different variation. So you're going to inhale, grab your knee, and inhale, nice long spine. Exhale as you twist your torso towards your bent knee and hug that knee. Okay, so you're in this bit of a twist in a seated position, but both sit bones are anchored to the ground. Okay, you're able to push down through both sit bones to create that nice long spine. You've got a little bit of toning in the belly to create that twist, and then your shoulders are pulled down the back. Now, if you're interested in going further here, you're going to lift that left arm up and over the knee so that you begin to have just a little bit of leverage here. And then that belly button twists. You can bring that hand back behind you, look over the right shoulder. And if you kind of get here and you're like, nope, this one's better, feel free to go back to this one. We'll be here for 2 more breaths. Slowly unwind out of that. Let the right leg extend long. Left leg now bends. And then bring the left foot up and over. Okay. And then make sure you have the ability to sit nice and tall. Inhale, long spine. And then exhale, hug that knee into the chest as you rotate to the left. And then again, both sit bones are rooting down into the ground so that you can sit tall. You're rotating from the belly, and you're keeping your chest open and shoulders down. And then if you want to try on this side, see how it feels. That right elbow will come up and over the left knee. Left hand can come back behind you and twist. Maybe looking over the left shoulder. And then slowly unwinding and uncrossing. And then bringing the soles of the feet together, Baddha Konasana, grabbing your ankles. Pull the belly in so that you're sitting tall out of the pelvis. And then if this feels like enough sensation, stay here. If you'd like to try to forward fold, bring your elbows out to your inner thigh, knee area, keeping your spine long on the inhale, and then exhale, seeing if you can hinge forward. So we're hinging, we're not rounding. See if you can get into a little bit more of a fold here in your Baddha Konasana. And then slowly coming out of that. Okay, we're gonna come on to a kneeling position. So if you need anything extra under your knees, go ahead and set that up. And we're gonna bring the right leg forward. So we're in a half kneeling position here. And then make sure between your front foot, your right foot, and your left knee, that there's about a hip width space between them. Okay, so that you can actually square your hips up to the front of your mat. So I want you to think about tailbone stretching down to the ground, belly pulled in, and then that front foot, that right foot, I want you to inch it forward so that it's actually forward of the knee. Okay. On your inhale, sweep your arms up as you shift your weight forward into a low lunge. Pausing here. So I want you to find that squareness of the hip. So that right hip is going to pull back a little bit, and that left hip is going to push forward some. I want you to keep that tailbone stretching to the ground and belly pulled in, and then finding the alignment of the shoulders over the hips. And then just keeping that knee in front. Try not to let it dive towards the middle of your mat. Keep it over your foot. Inhale, nice and full. Exhale, come out of it to neutral. So we're going to make this dynamic now. Inhale, find your low lunge. Exhale, come back to neutral. Twice more. Inhale. And exhale. One more. Inhale. And exhale. One more time. Inhale up. And pause here one more time. Now you can't really see my arm, so listen to the instructions. You're going to take your right hand and grab your left wrist. And then inhale, nice, lift and lengthen. And exhale, pull that left wrist over to the right as your hips maybe shift to the left. Keep that chest, just as before, open to the ceiling. Try not to let it round down. Keep the belly in. Come to center. Release the hands to the mat and switch sides. So left leg is going to come back. Right leg is going to step forward. So you'll come into that half kneeling position. And again, make sure you've got some distance between the knee and the foot. And then you want to square up the hips, tailbone stretches to the ground, belly pulls in. Okay, and then inch your front foot forward. So forward of your knee. Okay. Inhale up and shift your hips forward. And pause here. So you should feel a stretch in the front of your right leg. Okay. Now I want you to square up the hips a little bit, so commit to that by pulling your right hip forward just a bit and your left hip back. Keep your weight shifted forward, tailbone stretching down, belly pulled in. Inhale, lift and fill up. Exhale, shift back to center, bringing your hands down. Inhale, find your low lunge. Exhale, come out of it, find neutral. Inhale, lift up, finding that stretch. Exhale, one more. Inhale. Exhale. Good. So this time, inhale, arms up, and they stay up. Okay. Your left hand will grab your right wrist, and then you'll reach and pull that right wrist overhead and reach to the left as your right hip maybe pushes out to the right a bit. Again, try not to let that chest round down. Keep it proud and open to the sky. And then slowly come back up through center and release down. Letting your hands come to the mat. And now, transitioning all the way down to the mat, onto your back. Bring your feet together and your knees out wide. And just here for a moment, whatever you like with your hands, they can rest on your inner thigh. One hand to belly, one hand to chest, or simply on the ground next to you. And if Supta Baddha Konasana is something that feels really difficult to maintain, feel free to find a different variation for your legs. We're not quite done yet with our flow, but we're going to take a moment of stillness before we move on. Shut down your eyes. Reconnect to your breath and help that bring your mind and body into alignment. And then just reconnect with your intention that you created earlier in your practice. Lightly flutter open your eyes and close your legs like a book. And then happy baby. So soles of the feet up towards the sky or the ceiling, and then you're going to grab either ankles or maybe the outer edge, maybe the inner edge of your feet. Okay, but wherever you end up being able to grab, what you do, think about stretching the tailbone towards the mat underneath you. And then pulling down on your feet just a bit so that the knees start to come to the outside of the rib cage. Don't let the shoulders creep up. Keep those shoulders plugged down your back. And then this is a nice posture to actually add some movement. So if you'd like, you can either see how it feels to rock from one side to the other. That usually feels kind of nice on the low back. And then maybe you want to extend one leg and see how that might feel. And then the other leg. And perhaps one leg feels a little bit tighter than the other, and that's okay. Try not to have judgment around that. And maybe you try both legs, I don't know. Or maybe not. Maybe you just find stillness in your happy baby. Good. Release your feet to the mat. And we're going to come into another supine twist. If you have a version that you like to do, please adopt that version. I'm just going to talk you through the one we did in the beginning. Cross the right leg over the left. Pick up the hips. Take the left hip. Move it more towards the center of the mat. And let the knees fall to the left. Opening up the arms. You can use cactus arms if you don't have the width to open up. And finding those hips coming into a stacking position. Whether they actually stack or not is really not the point. It's just allowing them to do so. Anchoring the right shoulder to the mat. And maybe looking over the right shoulder. Using that nice full breath. And tap into, just like we did in the beginning, how your full breaths create just a little bit of movement in this posture. So as you inhale fully, your knees might raise just a little bit off the ground. And as you exhale, they might fall to the ground a little bit as your shoulders become heavy. So just tapping into those small micro movements that your breath incites in this posture. Coming up through center, uncrossing, and switching sides. So now right leg over left. Pick up your hips. Right hip moves more towards the center of the mat. Let your knees fall to the right. And then looking over the left, keeping the left shoulder anchored to the ground. And then tapping into those nice full breaths again. And just feeling those micro movements that your breath brings about. And then bringing those knees back up to center, uncrossing. And then just as we started our practice today, bring your feet out as wide as the mat and let your knees fall to the middle and rest upon each other. Whatever you want to do with your hands, they can rest on your belly. You can do one belly, one chest. They can just rest on the ground. So find a point to settle into. Close your eyes. And succumb. Succumb to stillness here. You've just intentionally moved your body. Every joint was moved a little bit. And now it's your job to let that movement and that breath work settle into a still body. If at any point you'd like to lengthen out your legs and come into a traditional Shavasana, you're welcome to do that. However, you can stay in this version of a resting posture if you'd like. Let go of any breath control. And as much as Shavasana is a resting posture, relaxing posture, it is also a place where you continue to stay present. And sometimes this is the hardest place when our body is not moving to be present. So there's going to be a few moments of silence where I'd like you to practice your own meditative practice of just being aware of when your mind wanders, because it will. It's what it's made to do oftentimes. And if you can be aware of that wandering, that's where the real practice begins, in inviting your mind back to your body and back to your breath. Now you are invited to stay in Shavasana as long as it feels right to you. And if you're ready to start to surface, begin to deepen your breath little bits at a time. And create that body awareness of wiggling out maybe your toes and fingers. And eventually taking a nice full body stretch, as if you're waking up for the first time today. And then eventually coming to your side and coming up into a comfortable seated position. And once you're in your seated position, close your eyes, bring your hands to heart center, and lift your chest to meet your thumbs. Bow your chin slightly, and one more time, just take a moment to reconnect to your intention. And then maybe consider taking that intention off of the mat with you as you move throughout your day today. I'm grateful to have each of you tune into class today. We live in an ever-changing world where it's hard to know what to expect next. And I know for me, the practice of yoga has kept me centered and rooted. And I appreciate you guys showing up to do that for yourselves. The highest light in me sees and honors and respects the highest light in each of you. Namaste. All righty.